The transfer portal is officially open for 30 days, but obviously there are some guys that made their intentions known that once that clock hits midnight and that thing's open, I'm gonna be in there. One of those players we already talked about was former Indiana big man Malik Reneau. Now, Malik had somewhat of a down year last year in comparison to what I think a lot of people thought he was going to do, but this was a high pedigree recruit. He had some really good games and kind of stints in Bloomington for Indiana, uh, while maybe playing out of position at times. At least if you asked him, he probably thought that. But now he's looking for his next spot, and we have some rumored spots that he might land at that I want to talk with you about. First of all, Dion, I want to ask you about Malik Reneau and how you feel about what his suitor should be like in the portal. Like, should it be the blue blood? Should it be, I mean, obviously, I think he's for sure a high major player. I don't think he's gonna like transfer down or anything like that. But what do you think is his outlook and maybe what's his mindset and what he wants to do in the portal?
That's an interesting question. So the style of basketball you have to play with Malik Reneau is one that I absolutely despise. Like the too big stuff, like the high-low action when the high can't shoot. That's some of the worst basketball in my opinion. I mean, I personally, you would agree with this. You think he's willing to play the five, right?
I think he's willing to play the five, but at the same time, he's like 6'8". He's maybe 6'9". So like you could play the five, but there's deficiencies that come with it. Like he's foul prone, he's not the best defender, but you could also say, you know what, defense, schmefense, and just play him. He could be somebody.
Yeah. Like if he's willing to play the five off the bench, I definitely wouldn't want him starting at the five, especially for a blue blood. Then I could see him working at a blue blood. If not, I think he's more of a high major guy, where it's like he probably beats a blue blood this year, where he drops like 20 on him, and everyone's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, Malik Reneau," type of thing. But if he's willing to play the five, then I definitely think it makes more sense at a blue blood. But I mean, Hubert will try anything, so maybe North Carolina.
Yeah, I wouldn't completely pull it out, but so Travis Barnum over at 24/7 did that was on a radio appearance or I think some type of media hit, and he brought up a school that he thought would be in the running for sure for Malik Reneau, and that was Florida and Coach Mike White. Now, we talked about this on another transfer video. There's a lot of speculation with where these kids are going to go, but it's like you always start at the certain point, right? Like, who do they know? Did one of the assistants that recruited them go somewhere else? What's their hometown? Maybe where their AAU teammates are at, or something like. There's like you look for just connections, even outside of when these guys start to make their decisions. So, back in the I think it was the 2022 recruiting class, which Malik Reneau was in. He was early on in his high school career committed to Florida and Mike White. Then Mike White left for Georgia. He reopens his recruitment. He ends up going to Indiana. So, you could obviously see maybe a rekindling of that. I think Mike White, and I believe he brought a lot of the staff from Florida that was recruiting Malik. So there's obvious connections there. And then I feel like I can just loop you in on this point. I want to put a loop in all episodes of you just saying, yeah, Miami's in the running for this one. Because Miami's the other school that's in the running for this one. Obviously, he's a Florida kid. Miami's got the new coach, the bags. I could see them possibly going after Malik. What do you think about those two stops for him?
If I'm a Miami fan, I think I prefer Georgia. I don't know if Malik Reneau is going to wind up playing the style of basketball that Jay Lucas is going to want to down there.
Yeah.
Um, Malik Reneau is one of the best players in the portal, though. So like, it's a weird dichotomy where it's like, on one hand, I think whoever gets him, it might be better off just because it keeps the style of play you want open.
Uh-huh.
But on the other hand, who in the world would turn down Malik Reneau if he wanted to go to your school?
Yeah.
It's
That
weird.
it no, I think that you're putting it the best way I think it could be put. It's like you don't say no to Malik Reneau. Or I mean you could, but it's like I'm really like saying no to like 15-5. But he's not one of the transfer portal players that you could add that would just, you add them to the team and they fall in. You know what I'm saying? Like that you add them and you don't have to worry about changing things. I think if you add Malik Reneau, there's some things you got to change about how you operate with your team. And that could be fine. That could work, but you got to have that type of mentality coming in. So maybe like Mike White and Georgia are a good fit for that. But obviously, if the Miami Bags and new coach Jay Lucas are in the fold, um, it's something that I think you can't look past. But I looked at what Mike White did this past year. They did make the tournament at Georgia. I thought they kind of lacked talent. Obviously, Asanul is a first round draft pick, but outside of that, they didn't really have much. I guess I'll end with this. How do you think he would fare in the SEC? Because I don't know. To me, he doesn't scream like SEC big. I can see, he's got a lot of foul trouble issues, not necessarily the most fleet of foot, but he is dynamic offensively. I will give him that. So, what do you think it would be his outlook with Georgia in the SEC?
I mean, I think the Big Ten has better big men than the SEC, so I think he would thrive in that aspect of things. Obviously, Janai Broome aside, right?
Right.
But I think where he would struggle is the SEC is going to make you switch on the guards way more than the Big Ten does, and I think that could pose some issues for him. He doesn't move laterally the greatest. Um, if Georgia gets him early, though, like that's huge for Mike White because, like you said, they did not have much talent around Ace Newell. If you can get Malik Reneau early, and then you can convince other players to come play with Malik Reneau like that dude. I mean, Indiana didn't make the tournament, but that dude is typically going to make the tournament.
Yeah, and look, I think the fit would actually work. And then you kind of just got to fill in places around him. And Mike White has been able to get some guys there. I know he's got a lot of connections on his staff to see like kind of where it might end up. But the portal has been open for less than 24 hours, and things are already, destinations are getting set, visits are being set. It's gonna be a crazy time. Make sure you follow everything over here on Sleepers Media YouTube channel. We will have updates on Malik Renew when we have them, and many, many other players that are currently in the portal. It is March, and that means that March Madness is upon us. And if you are looking for a place to play, Underdog Fantasy has you covered. Sign up and deposit using code SLEEPERS, that's code SLEEPERS, to receive up to $1,000 in bonus credit plus a free pick. Head over to Underdog Fantasy today and use promo code SLEEPERS to take advantage of this amazing offer.